on the red flag, on the backstretch.
Uh-huh.
I'm parked back there. We're all lined up. There's a guy with a giant blowhorn, and this guy with the megaphone was like, "Sir, sir, in the red with the waters." And the guy like looks over and he's like, "The 21 car, the 21. Don't give him any water. He doesn't deserve any water."
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sour Power Hour, presented by Toxic Waste Hazardously Sour Candy. I am your host, Eric Estepp, joined as always by NASCAR driver Brennan Poole. Brennan, last time since we recorded our last episode, you scored a top 10 finish in the Toxic Waste Hazardously Sour Candy machine. I mean, that's got to be, there must be some special sauce, some special juice in this stuff to get that top 10, man. How you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. The last month or so has been pretty good to me. Yeah, the top 10 in Chicago was certainly awesome. The Chicago street race is just so much fun, and yeah, to have such a great day with everybody from Toxic Waste there was just a tremendous amount of fun, and it was so hot, man. Like
Yeah.
there were like photos of me and videos of me like getting out of the car, and I was like, dude, it's warm. I think I might have tweeted something about like in Ace Ventura when he's in like the rhino and he gets trapped and he's like warm. Like that was what it felt like inside the
Yeah.
race.
Yeah. You looked
But
like the
yeah, it was
sun out there reflecting all of the heat, all of the light, though, that bright fire. So it could have been worse. You could have been
yeah.
like jet black. A good week to be in the toxic waste colors, I'd
Oh,
suppose.
oh yeah, for sure. It was so much fun, and we had so much candy. We gave so much candy out, and everybody was loving it. So it was a really good time.
Awesome stuff. Yeah. Well, we have Truck Series points leader Corey Heim joining us here in about 15, 20 minutes or so. But before then, Brennan and I have a lot of news, a lot of discussion to catch up on. First and foremost, Brennan, it's been a few weeks since our last Power Hour. I know the fans listening at home want to hear a little bit about where your team's at this point in the season. I know one race to go. It's Daytona, opportunity to maybe win, make the playoffs. But, I mean, you had that top 10 at Chicago. I know you were 12th at Watkins Glen last week. What? Brennan
Yes.
Poole, the road course ringer all of a sudden? So how's your last few weeks been? How's your outlook for this season so far?
Well, the last little stretch has been interesting for us. I do feel like going into road courses, I just have a knack at having decent pace and staying out of trouble and putting myself in a position to get a good results at the end of the race
I mean,
and
Watkins Glen, correct me if I'm wrong, you qualified like 30 something, right? So to come up through the
yeah,
field
I
and get
hit the
12th, I mean
yeah,
that's a
I messed up qualifying.
but that I mean that to your point though, having the pace and the experience to stay out of trouble, which helped. There's a lot of guys who did not seem to have the
Yeah,
experience to stay out of
let me
trouble.
just touch something on this Watkins because that crash in the backstretch happened pretty much right in front of me. And like I was coming off the carousel going out into that runoff area when they started like wrecking. And at Watkins Glen, what's crazy is that there's so much dirt and grass. So when you get off in it, it just throws the dirt up everywhere and you can't see it all. So when I saw him starting to wreck, I went right because I felt like I was going to have to stop because the track was probably going to be blocked. And the spotters are like wrecking, track's blocked. You can't see. So I just went to the right because that's kind of guys are coming off that carousel like full throttle and they're going to be kind of in the left lane a little bit headed down there. So I like went to the right and kind of like went all the way over to the right as far as I could, almost in the grass and stopped. And so I'm looking in the rearview mirror so I don't get run over. And then I'm kind of looking left and I see like the 39 and the 71 like full speed like into the crash and I saw the entire like when I guess the 39 hit the 91 first, but I saw like I'm sitting there and looking and I just saw like the entire underneath of the 91 car, like the whole
Wow.
bottom, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
like, oh
because
my gosh.
TV
Like
lost all that in the dust and the
you
smoke.
couldn't you
Yeah.
kind of saw his car go up, dude. I saw it plain as day, just like
Whew.
one of the biggest impacts I have ever seen. I'm so glad that everybody was okay. Ryan Ellis has got like literally had a car to the face basically, and
Yeah.
oil was dumping all over him. Like he's
Jeez.
getting burned with hot oil, and you can't get out. He's got to wait till everything stops. So that was pretty crazy. I'm glad that I then went around and made it out. That was really
Goodness
big
gracious.
because we were probably going to finish like 17th if That big incident didn't happen, and we ended up being able to get 12th. We were like way too tight that last run.
Yeah.
The new tire has been kind of that we had at Sonoma. It was new. It's just been kind
Inconsistent
of
or
yeah, like throughout the
unpredictable.
sets of tires. Yeah, we thought we had our freest set of tires for the last run, and it ended up being like the tightest set of tires. So I was like really, really tight. I mean, like four numbers on my 1 to 10 scale tighter. I'm like, whoa,
Wow.
this is like crazy. So that hurt us. But yeah, it's been an interesting last month for me. Like we knew it would be a tough string of tracks. Like Indy, we finished 20th, but another top 20. But I felt like we could have been better there. And then Dover, rain shortened race, working on our car. We weren't very good and wound up 25th. So we've had a couple in there that we felt like we needed to be better. Iowa was also a 20th. Probably could have had a couple better last restarts there. Could have been a little bit better. But we needed to be a little bit better there too. But it feels good to get that 10th, get that 12th last week. I feel like we needed that. And now we kind of go into a string of really good races for me and
Yeah.
new one for the Xfinity series in a while with Gateway coming up. But I
That's
have
right.
raced a truck there before, so maybe that helps me have an advantage. I don't know. But yeah, I think the next little string here are good. And of course, I'm pretty good at the restrictor plate races, so
Yeah.
hoping for the best this coming weekend.
What paint scheme are you in next weekend? Do you know
I'm in
yet?
a I'm in a CW and Sons infrastructure and Clark's directional boring car. It's a new look. It's all orange. It's like bright orange.
Oh, okay. Okay, I
You're
did
not
see
gonna
that
miss
on
me.
I saw that on socials this week. Now that's what I was asking. Like it's always good when you have the bright backdoor systems colors or obviously the toxic waste colors. So that's good to know. You'll be easy to spot at Daytona. You'll probably be near the front at some point, so
Yeah.
be easy to spot regardless. But that's great, man. That's awesome to hear. We can segue real quick. You talked about your POV of that massive crash at Watkins Glen. I was not at the race, but I was on social media when that happened, and the pitchforks were out for one Austin Hill. I
Yeah.
don't know your relationship with Austin. I don't know if you guys have ever had any run ins or how you race against each other, but Austin's got that reputation for being aggressive. And you would think one race back from suspension, he would have maybe dialed it in a bit. No, 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 no. He was bumping the leader out of the way, made, I think, a very bold move on Michael McDowell there that obviously didn't work. I mean, your POV on that move in the carousel, did you feel like that was overly ambitious, or is that a normal move that just went wrong in this instance?
It was definitely a weird place to make a move like that. I don't even know if he intended to get there like he
Mm,
did. I don't think I don't because like when you come off the carousel, like yeah, if someone jumps back right, if you have a run, you can kind of stick your nose in there to their left, but it's really difficult to do. And really, when you come off the carousel, you want to get a big enough run where you can almost get to their right, if that makes sense, because the next corner after turn six, if that's what you want to call it, or turn 10, it
mhm.
the last corner is back to the right. So if you can
Yeah,
get to their right and pin them down for six, it's like unless they just full blown run you, wreck you, that like, but you're set up better for
true.
that last corner. You're gonna make the pass. So like
Yeah.
for him to try to get left there where there's already not, I really don't think that particular instance was intentional. I think that really was an accident that happened, and I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure. I mean, he might even feel himself that was dumb, but I really don't think it was. I think he was just. You're trying to get all you can get. You got all this momentum, and it's like I don't even really think he got that. Didn't
Yeah.
even realize maybe he was that far to the left of him, and then when he was coming back to get him tight behind him to try to make a path, he clipped him, and it just they wrecked. I do have a funny story though, Eric. You are not
Okay.
gonna. I have to bring this up
Oh boy.
right now in the podcast. On the red flag, on the backstretch,
Uh huh.
I'm parked back there. We're all lined up. There's a guy with a giant like blowhorn, like one of those big microphones. You know what I'm talking
A
about? That
fan
you
or
go
like
like
an
a
official?
fan, a
Oh.
fan, a fan.
Oh gosh. What was he
All because it's
saying?
all campers down that back straightaway into the bus stop, and we're all parked there. And guys come out and they're giving us waters.
Mm-hmm.
They do every red flag. There's a red flag. The safety workers come and give all the drivers water. So we're sitting there, and this guy with the megaphone was like, "Sir, in the red with the waters." And the guy like looks over and he's like, "The 21 car, the 21. Don't give him any water. He doesn't deserve any water." And he's like yelling at him, and this just keeps going on, right? So
Oh my
then
god.
some time goes by, and they come by with the big, huge concrete barriers. You
Mm-hmm.
could just tractors carrying two concrete barriers, And the guys with the microphone like, "Sir, in the tractor with the barriers. Yeah, you." And the guy see me driving past. He goes, "The 21 car. Set those concrete barriers on top of the 21 car, please." Yeah, like, and he's just like yelling
Oh
that,
my
dude.
gosh.
I was dying laughing
That's
inside of the
funny.
They just giving him such a hard time, but
Wow.
yeah, it was funny. We were
Wow.
entertained back there, I can tell you, because all of
That's
us could
funny.
hear it. So,
Wow. That's yeah. Well, because so maybe I don't know if you went back and watched, but so then during the red flag, a little while into it, because it was a long red flag, y'all were baking back there.
mhm.
CW dials up Austin Hill and does a little in race interview, and it sounded like they talked during the commercial break, and it's like, "Are you okay doing this?" Yeah, yeah, okay, cool. So they made it happen. I wonder if because I watched that interview and thought, man, it's like when a driver causes a wreck, I feel like in the moment they're pretty quick to put it out of their mind and they'll think about it after the race. They'll talk about it after the race. But when Austin Hill agreed to do that interview, my POV was, is he on Twitter right now? Like, is he? It felt like he was putting out fires. So maybe he heard the guy with the bullhorn there and was like,
Yeah,
shit, I
dude.
gotta do some damage control here. Let's see if TV will talk to me here. Let's handle this a little differently than we handled Indianapolis. Maybe try to get in some people's good graces. That's funny though. I love that story.
Dude, there's no way he didn't hear it because like people on the other side of the track were like, "We can hear you." Ah, and it was like, dude, it was so funny.
That's crazy. Well, Austin Hill, we do know no penalty for Watkins Glen. I agree with you. I think it was just maybe an ambitious move, but not a malicious trying to wreck a guy
Yes.
move. So I think that was probably the right call there. Talking about the Xfinity race, Connor Zilisch wins again. Now I know there was some contact with Shane Van Gisbergen that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you saw the instant. Like it looked to me like, hey, SVG crowded him on exit a little, but also Zilisch is
Yeah.
off the track more or less. Like he could have given a little as well, but can't deny the speed. Obviously, road course racing, he is phenomenal. Connor Zilisch and SVG, but I'm specifically talking about Connor Zilisch. He's also won oval races as of now, and I know he's injured now, could miss some time, but as of now, Zilisch is the points leader as a rookie. He's in a great car. He's with a great team, Brennan, but how have you seen him develop, especially on the non-road course races over the course of this season?
Yeah, incredibly talented. Definitely has gotten a lot better at the ovals. I think what's interesting about him versus SVG is that he's kind of young enough to adapt and learn the ovals pretty relatively quickly, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just easier to do when you're young and you don't have habits ingrained into your system. But so I see him being, I mean, just incredibly talented. Probably, definitely going to be one of the best to do it when this is all said and done. But yeah, I think he's really talented race car driver, really fast race car driver, and probably the one of the best cars in the field with one of the best crew chiefs in the field. And when you have that combination, it's just dangerous. It's kind of like we see it so many times over the years. Really good driver, really good team with a really good crew chief, and it just is success. So,
Yeah.
and I think that that's what they have going on right now. And I think it's fun to watch. I think their cars are, I think really Junior Motorsports in general has really fast cars right
Yeah,
now. They've
they
been
do.
really good.
I
I
think
mean,
they've
the
won over a
seven is
dozen
also,
races or something like that this year.
yeah,
It's
they are fast. So, yeah, I think it's cool to see. It's kind of a bummer that he got hurt celebrating. Like you don't want to see that for anybody. I mean, just man, that was kind of scary.
yeah,
I was worried that he might have hurt his knee or his leg when he like because it kind of like
yeah,
went in the car and
twisted.
it
It
like
got
I was
caught.
like,
Yeah,
oh man, it was just kind of the whole thing was really scary. So I'm glad that it's not worse than the situation that it is. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it thinks he's going to miss a few. I don't know if this could hurt his playoff situation now that he is the points leader. Things have been going so well. Could he be? Yeah, when you have surgery on your collarbone. I mean, I don't know when he's allowed to come back or what, but I think it takes like 6 weeks for that to heal. So I
Yeah.
don't. That's going to go into the playoffs if I'm not
It
mistaken.
could. I know they've talked about like I think SVG even talked about he had something similar and was able to race a couple weeks later. Like you kind of just
Okay.
race through the pain and obviously hope you don't wreck hard again. And I know
Yeah.
with like Daytona it would make sense to sit out. I don't know why you would come back quick for that. You'll get a waiver. But
Yeah.
Portland, I think, is next, and I could see Portland being like, okay, let's test this. But I guess it's tough because once you come back, you can't sit out. Then it's like you're back in
Yeah.
the seat.
You
So
came back. Yeah,
yeah,
and Portland might be tough because with the broken collarbone, I've raced with a broken
true.
collarbone before. So I guess I have some experience in this, but I was a kid. I wasn't,
Well,
an
I mean,
adult
Connor
in a
Zilisch is
big car.
basically a kid. I mean,
Yeah, I know, I was probably 14. I
oh,
mean, it
okay.
was like different, and I had my arms pinned back. I literally couldn't reach the dash for to start the car because the way it holds your arms back and the way where the ignition is, you can't pick your arm up really good. So I had a ruler velcroed to the tunnel, and I grabbed the ruler and would like stick it through the steering wheel and like start the car up,
Oh my
get
gosh.
back and drive. And that's how I drove. And I had to keep my left arm like on the bottom of the wheel and drive like with my right hand, and that was tough because it was like full blown like
Yeah,
middle of the year and I just did it. But I got to imagine like if you're running a road course, like trying it at Portland, like holding the wheel and then shifting and everything. I
that's
don't
true.
know.
That's
That's
a
going to
good
be a
point about
challenge
shifting. Yeah, that's a lot of extra
because you got to
movement.
take your hand off the
Yeah.
wheel to do it. And so you're not, if your good arm is the one holding the car straight while you're shifting and turning into a corner or whatever, like, I don't know. That might be harder. So
That's a good
I
point.
don't know, man. I
We'll
don't,
see. Maybe he might take
yeah.
the rest of the regular season off. He'll get a waiver, and then he does have a lot of playoff points. So I mean, could be in a
Yes.
worse situation.
Yeah.
Real quick before we move off Zilic, he's almost certainly going to be in Cup full time next year with Trackhouse. How like I'm high on Zilic. I think everyone is. Everyone's like, yeah, he's clearly really talented. But considering Trackhouse on the ovals this year has been pretty hit or miss. Considering how young and still relatively raw he is, like I think expectations need to be realistic. I would be shocked if he goes to Cup next year and is consistently top 15, even top 20. What do you think is realistic to expect from Zilic next year?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's tough to say because you don't know how quick he will develop and you don't know how good the team is going to be for
Yeah.
him. So it's like,
Yeah,
it's
Trackhouse
hard
could
to,
be great next year, and then okay, yeah, maybe he is
I
top
mean,
15,
yeah, I
top
mean,
10. Yeah,
we've seen the one win several oval races and
yeah,
like make it to the final four before. Not that they were the best team in the way that they got there, but they did get there. So I mean, I think he has potential to win road courses probably right off of the rip. He will have to beat SVG for that, but I think he can do that. And so we'll see. Could he get himself in the playoffs as a rookie for sure? Um, but I don't know. Cup is also a big jump. It's like
yeah,
you have 36 Connor Ziliches in there, right? Like
mm,
they're all really good. They've all won big races at some point in their careers, and they don't make mistakes. So, and they've been racing at this level. Like most of the Cup guys that are there now have been doing this for a long time, and they've been in the next gen since it started. Like pretty much every single
yeah.
driver in the field. So you're having to catch up a little bit. And he will catch up, and I think him getting those few Cup starts that he's been getting were important. It's a bummer he missed out on one of those opportunities, Watkins Glen. But I think, yeah, I think he'll do pretty solid, and I think there's a chance he could be in the top 16.
Oh, that's big. That's bold. I mean, that'd be cool. I think a road course win on the table. I mean, we've seen in Xfinity, he's the only
Yeah.
guy who seems to be able to match Shane Van Gisbergen's pace more or less.
Mhm.
So it could be something to watch next year. Before we bring Corey Heim onto the show, I'm excited to talk about him. Obviously, we talk about Zilic as a great young prospect. Corey Heim fits that same description. You mentioned the next gen car, how different it is. It's now in its fourth year. I'm sure you've seen on social media this week, Brennan, or really the
Yes.
last couple weeks, a lot of discourse. I mean, it's not just fans, airing their
Mhm.
complaints and concerns over how the next gen car races, but it's guys, other drivers with other big podcasts. Denny Hamlin has come out and said, "Hey, the car's just not good." Kevin Harvick said it sucks, straight up. Dale Earnhardt
Yeah.
Jr. a couple weeks ago sounded almost defeated when talking about the car. So, I mean, you've driven the next gen a bit here and there the last few years. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how to ask this question, but like, how different is it really? Like, can you give us a little more insight into how much more difficult it is to pass, to make moves? What is different about the next gen compared to when you're driving your Xfinity car?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, like for me, when I drive the Xfinity car, I can really hustle the car hard. Like I can drive it hard and extract pace out of it in moments where I need to, if that makes sense. And you can kind of step over the edge in the Xfinity car and bring it back. And you sort of drive the car off the right rear. I mean, if at most of the tracks, in the Xfinity car, you drive the car off the right rear. It's free. You're hustling it. You're in there working. And the Cup car, to me, for me, at least in my experience, which is not that many, I've only ran 8 races in the next gen, but I have ran them at a variety of different tracks, whether it was Daytona, Talladega, or it was like Kansas, Dover. Like
Hmm.
I ran Pocono. I've run it at a lot of, I've ran Vegas, so I've ran a lot of the different style of the tracks. And for me, it just you cannot drive it off the right rear at all. If it's like a tiny bit free, it's like, whoa, buddy, better come tighten this thing up. And then we've seen it many times where guys get a little bit loose and they just spin out. They'll spin out totally by themselves. They'll, try to save it and overcorrect and drive head on into the fence, like we saw Kyle Busch in Iowa.
Mm.
Like that kind of stuff is like just it's a little crazy. It's not in the norm, I guess I would say, is what we're all used to it being. Well, and then you think about it and you're like, okay, well, change. We got to progress forward. We got to move. Things are going to change. And it's like, yes, but then when you're racing, it's just so difficult to pass. When you get behind somebody, you can't pass them, even if they're like really slow. It's like you watch the 24 car at Iowa. Bring this up for an example. He catches the back of the field, like to lap the field, and just can't pass, and he's way
Yeah.
ahead of second to the point where second eventually catches him because he's stuck behind the lap because you literally can't. I mean, you just can't
Hmm.
pass. So that's happening throughout the whole field, and it just is really, really difficult to make moves. If you're faster than the car in front of you, you can't drive up. Like you see an Xfinity car, we get like right here on their
Yep.
quarters,
Hmm.
and we pack a little air, and you see them get loose and move out of the way. Can't do that in a
Work
Cup
of art.
car.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, and like those things, I think a lot of the drivers are missing being able to do. I mean, as a car behind, you can't manipulate the car in front of you at all to make a move. While the next gen made some good gains, I feel like on the side by side racing because they're not so aero dependent over the top of the body. It's all kind of like underneath the car. So the side by side racing is better. But the
Getting
if you
there is
catch
harder.
somebody, oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. So
That's
I
interesting.
think that's the biggest thing.
That
And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm glad you said that because yeah, I hear all the drivers, I hear everyone saying, take off the underwing more. I think even like Denny Hamlin explicitly said more, over body aero, less under, and
yeah.
maybe he's right. Like that sounds good because it will allow you to get maybe closer to people. But I remember 2017, 2018 when it was higher horsepower, very low downforce on the Cup car, and guys at big tracks seemed almost scared to race side by side because they would spin out. And so
Mhm.
that is the risk is you potentially forfeit some of that side by side. I don't know. There's no perfect balance. That was going to be my
It's
next question is like, I know neither of us are engineers per se, but
mhm.
if you could make, there's talk of adding a little bit of horsepower next year. If you could make one big or medium realistic change to the car, where would you start to try and improve some of that
I
traffic
mean,
issues?
for me, I kind of agree with getting rid of all the underneath. I don't
Okay.
think the stock car should be making the majority of its grip with the floor. I think it should be back more kind of how it used to be. And yeah, I think there needs to probably be about 850 horsepower in tires that wear out, and you got to protect the tires. I think that's what
Mm,
makes great racing. I think that's why the great like the short track, the late model stock races are so fun to watch. Like when they go race Hickory or they go race North Wilkesboro, right? It's like they got a tire that wears out. You got to take care of stuff, and you got guys that are doing different things at different times in the race, and it creates a lot of opportunity. And I think that's kind of what we're missing a little bit right now. And I know like this is a big business, and Goodyear doesn't want tires to have a failure, and I totally understand all that. But in my mind, it would be great if we could find some kind of balance there with the tire, getting rid of the underbody stuff because I think it's like killing it,
yeah.
and maybe a little bit more horsepower. I don't think it needs to be crazy. Like we don't need 1,000 horsepower, but maybe back to like 800, 850,
Yeah.
and
Well, I like that's a
kind of
realistic idea because yeah, I think a
yeah,
thousand's unrealistic, but maybe 800
yeah.
something that could be realistic. Like that's
Yeah, I think
this is a
800 is
productive
realistic.
conversation.
We're not far away from that now, right? It's like
Hmm.
just give us a little bit more power
Yeah.
and get rid of the underbody stuff. And I think that they should go back to, I mean, and they probably won't, but I think that smaller, that low sidewall tire is what's kind of causing that like where there's no forgiveness where
Yeah.
like you get a little bit loose and it's like, well, I'm trying to catch it. And it's like, whoa, hook head on in the fence. I think we should maybe go back to that taller sidewall. I think
Yeah.
I think that
How
was better.
easy
But
I wonder would that be to do. Because like when they announced the larger wheels and the single lug and it
Mhm.
was like I still don't know, and I could maybe go back and read things like why did they do? What was I think the reasoning they gave was it looks more modern, it's more in line with
Yeah.
other racing series. Like okay, fine, but like is that the
Yeah,
only reason
just
we did it? There has to be another functional reason they did it that they won't want to tell
yeah.
us. But like yeah, it'd be
Maybe.
great to bring back kind of the sidewall of the old tire.
Yeah, I think the taller sidewall is just better and creates that little bit extra to like lean
Yeah,
on and push and overdrive, and you create a little bit
100%.
more craziness, I guess. And so yeah, I mean, I would like to see that, but also I don't know, right? Again, I'm not an engineer guy. Maybe there's something else that's the next thing that progresses it into the future that is future more like futuristic, I guess, um that makes everything better that I'm not seeing because I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But I just do know that like the underbody stuff, I think it makes it too difficult to pass. And I think it should be all the downforce of the car should be over top of the body. Then you can manipulate the cars in front of you and things like that. And
Yeah.
I think it makes the racing better. And then a little bit different tire than what we have now, I think would be great.
Yeah, as a dumb fan like I am, I remember when it was easy. Like the downforce and aero conversation was simply how big is the spoiler. That was the
Yeah.
topic. It was like big spoiler, small spoiler. It's like we don't talk about that
Yeah.
anymore because that's not what's really, controlling the
Mhm.
downforce. It seems. So yeah, let's simplify, dumb things down. I don't know. Good stuff, Brennan. I think it's time we invite Corey Heim onto the show, talk a little trucks, talk a little bit about his racing beginnings, and obviously the guy has a very bright future. Let's introduce Corey Heim to Power Hour. I am now joined by NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series points leader Corey Heim. Corey, Brennan unfortunately had to step away for a moment. He had a sponsor commitment come up. You know how important sponsors can be, of course. So you're stuck with me for the next few minutes, but but really appreciate you joining us on the show this week. How you doing?
Absolutely. I'm doing well, Eric. How about you?
Not bad. Cannot complain. Can't complain whatsoever. You're doing pretty well, it seems, though. Just won Watkins Glen this past weekend. It was a thrilling finish, though, man. What was going through your mind trying to hold off Daniel Hemrick? I know fuel was a concern. Like, what was going through your mind there, that final restart?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I was just kind of fed up with the overtime restarts. We were all really close on gas, and just seemed like it was inevitable that we were going to keep on getting those overtime restarts. And I thought it was going to turn into a little bit of a disaster with us having to potentially pit, and then everyone else on our strategy, and it was going to totally flip on us because originally we were on the safe side of fuel, and a lot of those guys that wanted or needed the track position took fuel sooner and then leaped us, and then stayed out. Ended up having to pit and almost flip flopped again. So, but that was pretty crazy. And being around the guys that I was on those last couple of restarts, I didn't have a huge worry about them, running into me, and it showed that I had people that I could trust around me to not kind of put me in jeopardy. But I feel like our speed was still really good, but we were low on fuel, and the fuel pressure was giving me fits at the top of the S's and also out of the carousel. So really any long straightaway, I was having issues with it, and that gave the 19 big runs on the straightaway. And I wheel hopped a little bit into six on the last lap, just because my motor was laying down on me so bad with the low fuel pressure that I didn't really know where my braking point was supposed to be, just because I wasn't going as fast. So I kind of tried to make up for it on entry and drive it in deeper, but it was a little bit too much for the rear tires. The handle slipped up and kind of gave him an opportunity, but luckily we were able to defend him off. So definitely chaotic. I would say last three laps, but I mean it was the multiple overtimes and whatnot, all the restarts to get through those. So
Yeah.
pretty hectic for sure, but glad we were able to pull it off.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, the way you just ran through it there, when we're watching on TV at home, we can see, okay, he's stumbling up the hill a little bit, second place closing in, but I mean, I didn't even consider breaking points change. Like, there are so many things change, like going through your mind as a driver that you have to react to in that moment. But you got the win, sixth win of the season. That win tied you with former Truck Series champion Greg Biffle for eighth on the all-time Truck Series wins list. You've had a tremendous almost 3 years now in the Truck Series. Do you ever take time to stop and like reflect on the success you've had the past couple of years?
To an extent, yeah. I think, looking back on the last 3 years and really how much I've progressed as a driver has been really cool. statistically, we've matched our win total from last year, which was a record for me at the time last year. So the trend is going the right direction for me. I'm still getting better and still improving. I feel like as a driver and also as an organization with Tricon and Toyota, just continuing to get our equipment better. So, yes, it's nice to see that, we keep trending in the right direction, but, it's so hard when, you're on a championship contending team, and you haven't quite gotten that accomplishment yet. It's hard to look back at other accomplishments while, the main goal is to win that championship. So, yes, I do reflect on it a little bit, but I think just having that race looming in the future, of course, having to get there in the first place through the playoffs, and then, all heck breaks loose sometimes with that race, as we know, and, just having to get through the chaos of that race is tough. So having that looming in the future is always kind of on the back of my mind, regardless of whether I want to reflect on the last couple of years or not. But regardless, it is a really cool accomplishment. It's news to me that I leveled up on the win list there, so that's cool. But definitely a long season to go, and more records to keep climbing on.
I always pulled for Biffle. He was one of my favorite guys. So when I saw that, I'm like, all right, I'll give Greg Biffle a shout out this week. That's
There you
fun.
go.
I like that though. I like that perspective. You're still got one eye forward. That's a good place to be. I think still need that exclamation point here at the end of your truck series career. Corey, I'm gonna go back to the beginning for the next few questions here because when I was doing research for this interview, I actually realized how little of your background, or I don't want to say personal life, I guess, that I actually knew about. I'm Googling around and I see, oh, he's from Marietta, Georgia, which is kind of cool because my family I had family out in Marietta. I used to spend a good handful of Thanksgivings there as a kid. So I thought that was
Oh,
cool.
well.
Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, it is. I was born and raised in Marietta, Georgia. Raised locally with quarter midgets from the time I was 5 is when I got my first go-kart quarter midget, and my dad, set up all my cars when I was little. Raced in Cumming, Georgia, Lanier, the old short track had a little quarter midget track on the corner at the speedway, so we'd race up there. And then started traveling kind of regionally when I was probably closer to 9 years old. We'd travel as far as like maybe Ohio, nothing crazy. Far for some people, but I grew up racing against like, Chandler Smith and
Oh yeah.
Hocevar, and those guys are racing all around the country. And like as a kid, like you don't ever think about that. Like obviously I had no idea I was gonna race against these guys almost 20 years later, and look back on it. But yeah, I feel like I stayed in quarter midgets a little bit longer than kind of the average person. Like I remember Chandler went to Bandoleros or Legends Cars when he was like, I want to say 8 or 9 years old. I stayed in it until I was like 11 or 12. So that was kind of a big deal. Like I wouldn't say my progress slowed because of that, but it was more of just like we really enjoyed the family environment, had made a lot of friends and connections around quarter midget racing in general, and then eventually it was like, all right, we got to kind of make or break it. I got to move up and try to do some other things, or else I'm just going to be, I'll probably hang it up after quarter midgets. So, eventually started racing against those guys again in late models. We still race a little bit in Georgia at Cordial or Chris Motorsports Park, whatever you want to call it. So that was kind of my most, I guess, popular personal track for me because it was closest to me. And then one thing led to another, and I started in ARCA.
Yeah, did you, I guess, how do I phrase this? I guess, you said you started at 5 years old, you first started racing. So was the kind of the goal always, hey, let's go stock car racing one day, let's dream of NASCAR? Was that kind of the plan from step one, or was it sort of a feel it out, see if you enjoy it? Like when did this become like truly serious? Was it right away, or did it take a few years for this to really become, I guess, your life?
Yeah, it was a pretty slow progression into that. I mean, I had no um, I mean, I always had aspirations to be a NASCAR Cup driver. I grew up, being a huge NASCAR fan as a little kid. It was my favorite thing in the world. Of course, still is. But when I was just a little kid, I was such a big fan of it, and my dad got me into it. We went to Martinsville a lot. We went to Atlanta. Being from Atlanta, went to Atlanta every year. Bristol, Martinsville, Southern 500. We went to the races every year just as fans.
Nice.
But as far as taking it, serious as a career or thinking I could make a career out of it, it really took a while. My dad was always very transparent with me about funding. And, when I was really little, he basically put all of his money into my quarter midget stuff, or all of the, extra money he had to, keep me racing and stuff. And business for him didn't really pick up until I was in my teen years. And that really is what led me to be able to afford racing in late models and ARCA and stuff. And if my dad's business and like his financials kind of stayed the same as what they were when I was 5 to 10 years old, like I would have been completely like, there's no way, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I got really fortunate, with him, and then his love for racing and how much he was able to, fund me to at least get to ARCA and, meet with the Toyota people and kind of go from there. But, like I said, he always was very realistic with me about it. So I just remember thinking when I was like 10 years old, it's like, dang, like I really hope one day I can at least start a truck race, or just at least be able to compete out there. And even if it's the worst stuff, I just want to be out there one day, like, and at least make a start so I can look back one day and be like, hey, I like ran a truck race, But 10 years later, here we are, winning truck races, and I'm trying to make a career out of it. So I never really would have imagined, just because my dad was always so realistic with me about the funding, that I would be where I'm at today. But I really just felt like I always kept my head down and just kind of enjoyed it. It wasn't like a grind for me. It was just I had a love for the sport and a love for getting better. Picked up iRacing and continued to just progress myself. So it was never like, oh, I had to work my ass off to get where I am, and that's the only way I'm gonna make it. Like, to me, it just came naturally because I just enjoyed doing it. It was like
Yeah.
it's fun for me. So, and it still is, and that's kind of why I feel like I continue to get better as well.
That's great. Yeah. I want to ask you about joining Toyota, but first, you said you've been a fan since you were a kid. Did you have a favorite driver as a kid? Were you in the stands wearing a T-shirt or anything in particular?
Yeah, I've always been a Denny guy, man. I really
Really?
have, which was
Okay.
a really, really cool full circle moment for me when I, signed with 2311 to do the part-time stuff. And, talking to him for the first time was awesome. Just, I never would have, ever imagined, of course, he didn't have a team when I was little, so I didn't always envision
Yeah.
myself driving for him, but I don't know, maybe being teammates with him or something. But, yeah, I've always been a DH guy. I remember, him winning his first 500 and just exactly where I was at that moment. And a lot of
Wow.
the core moments in his career. I remember his core memories in my life. So, always been a big fan of his, and it was a really cool moment when I was able to kind of look back on that, like when I signed on 2311, just to look back and be like, dang, like, I dreamed of this, even though it wasn't a
Hmm.
possibility, because since he didn't have a team when I was a kid, I've always kind
Yeah.
of dreamed of something like this happening. So that was super cool.
That's so cool. That's the dream right there. I mean, that's awesome. Well, then I'm sure it was really cool to team up with Toyota first and foremost. So can you tell me a little bit about how, in your ARCA days, I assume, like how did you eventually get linked up with the Toyota team?
Yeah, my first year in ARCA was in 2019. I drove for Chad Bryant Racing, and didn't really have a whole lot of pavement experience, or I guess late model or stock car experience rather.
Mhm.
Had a mildly successful late model career up to that point, but I think me and my dad both knew if I was going to make a career out of it. I was already 16 at the time. Like a lot of the guys that you see starting in ARCA are like 14, 15, 16. So, in that range. So I kind of needed to kind of giddy up and start to run laps in that if I was going to do it. And it was a pretty mediocre season for me. I kind of loomed around fifth to sixth place, and as we know, ARCA, that's kind of about the limit of the competitive cars. So wasn't like super thrilled with that, and I think it was kind of time for a change at the end of that first part-time year. So met with Billy Venturini at Venturini Motorsports, of course, and put together a very short part-time year. I think I only ran 7 races in 2020, and 2 of them were like intermediate Kansas style races. The rest of them were just East races, short tracks, dirt tracks, just whatever I could scrap together for a schedule. It was very last second. So kind of just scrapped together a schedule and won my first race in the fall of 2020 at Kansas, which kind of got us and Toyota talking about a full-time year, and they were able to help us out enough to get us kind of over that hump and get us in a full-time ride for the next year. And from there, my career kind of took off, I feel like.
Yeah, well, it's obviously been a great partnership the past few years. I do want to ask you a couple future related questions. It's that time of the year, Corey. The last couple weeks, there have been rumblings with Caden Honeycutt now joining Toyota for the rest of this season, I guess, and potentially going forward. There have been rumors swirling that you could be in a slightly different seat or a different situation next year. Do you know at this point what you're going to be doing next year exactly, or are planned pieces still coming together?
Yeah, everything's still kind of coming together. I feel like, for now, just kind of focused on the last of the part-time races I've got, 2311, and of course the full-time tenure with Tricon. But everything's kind of fallen into place, and I feel like I'll probably know relatively soon what I'm doing. So hopefully I have something to announce pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've been with Toyota for years, won a lot of races. I do know though there are fans out there that are like getting a little impatient. They're, hey, they want to see you run more Xfinity races. They want to see more Cup opportunities. Are you still comfortable so far with how your career has developed the past couple of years and going forward?
I'd say so for the most part. I feel like with my development with Toyota, they've always kind of put me in a good spot to succeed. I'm lucky to be with what I feel like is the best truck team in the garage, and I've been with them for 3 years now with a lot of opportunities to win. And yeah, I mean, I know there are a lot of conversations about it and whatnot, but kind of like we talked about earlier. I mean, 10 years ago, I would have dreamed to be in a position I'm in now. So yes, it's easy to get greedy when you feel like you can perform at the top level, which I feel like I can given the right opportunity. But at the same time, it's like I'm surrounded by really good people that tell me to trust the process, and they've been telling me that since 2020. And so far, the process has been great for me. I mean, I've been able to compete for a lot of wins and win a lot of races, be with very good people that have developed me and made me better. So I'm continuing to trust that process, and I feel like sooner than later that that will pay off, and I'll be in a really good position in the Cup Series. So like I said, it's easy to get greedy, but I feel like the spot I'm in is very ideal for my future. So for me, I think it's just the best place to be in for myself.
Corey, I guess looking ahead now, I have two questions I want to ask you. We'll start with we just talked Cup, so let's talk about the Cup race you're running this weekend. What are you most looking forward to getting back behind the wheel of the 67 at Richmond here in a few days?
Yeah, I think just kind of getting back in the groove of things. All my cup races this year were kind of spaced out by roughly a month, 3 weeks. So I feel like that's just enough time to sort of digest what happened and then reset a little bit. But obviously I had that not ideal race or I guess qualifying at Chicago that kind of put me out of the race. So yeah, just looking for a reset. I feel like the speed in the first two races between Kansas and Nashville was really good. I mean, we were able to finish 13th at Kansas after kind of a rough first stage, pretty much driving through the field after that. And then Nashville, I mean, I feel like I had the speed run top 10, like my best cup race so far. And then I wipe myself out, and then I go to Chicago and wipe myself out again. Just kind of needed to clean it up a little bit overall personally. And I feel like I'm, you know, probably the last guy that puts myself in bad spots in the truck, which I'm just really comfortable in. But when you're trying to squeeze every bit of speed out of this cup car, and everyone knows how on edge they are and whatnot, it's pretty easy to make a pretty big mistake, especially when I go to the racetrack trying to prove myself. I've only got a handful of races, this year, so every race I want to prove myself, and just got a little bit overeager, I think, at Nashville, and then also Chicago qualifying, and Richmond's kind of the perfect place you look at, and everything sort of calms down there. It's very slow hands, slow feet, just trying to work as much technique in as you can to maintain the tires and whatnot. So I feel like it's the perfect place to just kind of slow everything down and reset for myself personally. Of course, had a couple good runs in the truck the last couple of weeks, so feel like everything's still there mentally for me as far as that goes. It's just about kind of a mental reset on the cup side and just slowing everything down a little bit.
Good stuff. And the Truck Series playoffs, of course, are right around the corner. You've stacked, and I too many playoff points to count at this point. But looking ahead, I mean, there are guys. You talked earlier about Daniel Hemrick. He raced you very clean at the end of Watkins Glen. I think the only time I've ever seen Hemrick move somebody was to win a championship a couple of years ago. So I'm sure that's in the back of your mind. And then you got Chandler.
Pretty warranted, though, I feel like. Yeah.
Fair enough. Chandler Smith. I know Lane Riggs been some of your closest competition. So you've had your disagreements with Lane Riggs this year in particular. The Truck Series can get very aggressive, can get unruly at times late in the season when there's so much at stake. Do you change your approach at all, especially with the playoffs right around the corner?
Not necessarily. I mean, this is the most playoff points we've had going into a playoffs, I guess, the last 3 years. But we've always been in pretty good positions. We were able to win the regular season championship in 23, so I had a good amount going into that one. And of course, a good amount last year as well. And I've always been pretty cautious in the playoffs. Like I don't take any major risks, but I feel like that's kind of how I am in general. I'm not really one to put myself out there too bad and make or break my race with one single move. I'm an aggressive guy, but I feel like my aggressive moves are relatively coordinated, I guess. I mean, I've done things in my career that I wish I could redo, but for the most part, I feel like everything on my part is pretty coordinated. I don't take like major risks, especially in the playoffs. So for me, I think it's just kind of keep doing what I'm doing. Kind of like I said earlier, I feel like I'm the last guy to put my car in a bad spot or a spot that I could wreck at any point. But then again, you look at the last round and we go to I think it's Martinsville, Roval, and
Is
Talladega.
Talladega in
Yeah,
there?
so
Yeah,
it's like
gosh.
it's just like you can be perfect and not put yourself in a bad spot, but you can get put in a bad spot pretty quick. So, um, just so much of it is out of your hands. But I feel like I'm sort of accustomed to that in the Truck Series by now. We've always had Talladega. I'm pretty sure we've always had Talladega in the last round with us. So, um, for me personally, it's just kind of doing what I'm doing, and for the most part, I'm just trying to be fast enough to where they don't get a chance. I think a lot of the races this year where we've got kind of wiped out, it's been on a restart or something, and we've had the speed to pull away. It's just about kind of getting that gap. So qualifying good is going to be huge, and then just managing that gap from there if we can find the speed to continue to lead races like we have this year so far.
Well, absolutely. Well, Corey, I appreciate your time joining us this week on the show. Got a lot of big things in the works, a busy weekend coming up at Richmond. Really appreciate your time, man. Good luck the rest of the season. Go chase that Truck Series championship.
All right, much appreciated, man. Keep up the good work.
Huge thank you to Corey for spending some time with us. I say us. I know, Brennan, you weren't quite able to make it. Inside Baseball, you had a sponsor outing commitment come up last moment. Where you're out fishing? Is that what I heard? You're out on a lake enjoying the sun while I was in here grinding it out with Corey Heim.
I was in the Bay, man. In Maryland. I went fishing with CW and Sons and Clarkson and their family, and we had an awesome time. We caught 14 fish, had a little fish fry, and ate it all up. It was great. Lindsay caught all she wanted to do, man. My wife, the last several months, maybe even years, was go fishing. We watched, Deadliest Catch and like Wicked Tuna.
Oh, so this is like her first time like really going fishing.
And the first line that hit, we all were like, Lindsay, 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 go in. And she grabbed the reel and reeled the fish in. And so it was
Good stuff.
caught her first fish on shoot a day ago, man, after we recorded literally Tuesday. And so so that was a tremendous amount of fun. So yeah, sorry, Corey, I missed getting the chat with you, but
he understood. I explained, he's like, hey, sponsor commitments. Sponsors are important. That's awesome. Sounds like you had some good fun. Well, Brennan, before we wrap things up here, I did want to talk a little free agency. Not a ton of movement on the Cup Series side, but the Trucks, Xfinity, a lot of interesting rumors and shuffling around. For starters, Josh Williams, who's been on our show before, friend of the show, was great at DGM for a couple of years, moved over to Kaulig, and it just didn't really click, flirting around 20th in points, I think, not performing as well as they hoped. He's out of the 11 car. Were you surprised at all to see that news a couple weeks ago, or where do you think Josh goes from here?
I was a little surprised that they didn't finish the year out together. I mean, I know it wasn't going great, but really none of the Kaulig cars have ran really great this year. I think as a whole, they've been trying to find pace and figure out what they need to do. So it wasn't to me. I mean, if they're all kind of struggling, like I don't, it just kind of is what it is. We need to continue to work to dig out of this hole and find speed. So I was a little bit surprised that that's what happened. I don't really think that was probably the right decision by them to do that. But I mean, people sometimes after so long, they fall out of love, if you will, and they made a change. So I really like Josh. I think he's one of the best guys like in the garage area. He's always so kind to everyone and does so much for
100%.
Children Miracle Network hospitals and like that. I mean, he's a good guy, and so this situation is just like unfortunate. So
Yeah.
I think we'll see Josh in a car. This year, probably a few more times, and I definitely think he'll be back the following year. So this is just kind of a difficult situation.
Yeah, no, for sure. Josh, great guy. At Kaulig Racing, though, they seem to be a team kind of in flux because, yes, the Xfinity program has taken a small dive this year, and some of that is you put two rookies in your cars, and I think very highly of Christian Eckes and Daniel Dye. I'm not quite sure what they're getting with Daniel Dye there, but you put two young guys in those cars with Josh Williams, who's also relatively new to the team. yeah, just didn't quite find the spark. You bring Allmendinger up to Cup, it's like that was your Xfinity anchor for all these years, and they
Yeah.
lost that. But Kaulig, like there are rumors out there. There's a report I saw today from Adam Stern, Sports Business Journal, that suggests they are on the short list maybe of teams that are close to building a relationship with Ram. Could we see Kaulig in the Truck Series, perhaps? Have you heard anything about that, Brennan? What's your POV on this?
I mean, everything is always rumors until it's out, right? But I have definitely been hearing that that is something that's happening. Um, so that's going to be interesting to see. I
Yeah,
have no idea. I mean, I've heard that they are buying. I mean, you hear that people that Spire is selling their truck team, and like maybe Colleague's the one buying it, and then they're going to become the Ram, the Dodge truck team, and like maybe their Xfinity program shrinks down a little bit, and that looks
sure.
differently. I don't know. That's crazy. That's kind of like it seems crazy because
It's a big move.
it's a big move, and they are a Chevrolet partnered team on the Xfinity side. I don't think the Cup program is, but so then you bring in another manufacturer. Is that going to make Chevrolet mad? I don't, dude. I don't know. That
Could you
seems
see
crazy.
Kaulig, because Kaulig shares, they're on RCR's campus, right? In Welcome,
Yeah,
North
I
Carolina.
think I don't.
Could they be the team to switch to Dodge in 2-3 years? Like, is that possible?
I guess. I think. I guess that would be. I know that Matt Collig has probably pockets behind it, so like that might make them a manufacturer feel comfortable to go down that route. Where a lot of the other big teams, their ties with the manufacturers are really tight. Like it's gonna be hard for like
You're
a
not gonna,
Hendrick or
yeah,
an
you're not gonna
RCR, or you're
lure
not. They're
the
not gonna change.
You're not going to lure Hendrick or Gibbs or Penske away from
Mhm.
Chevy, Toyota, Ford at this point. You got to look at those teams that aren't getting that same support, at least on the Cup side. And I think Kaulig fits that description. But I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't know that Kaulig, I just don't know that their overall operation is fleshed out enough to like be that new anchor team
Yeah.
for a new OEM that's coming in, especially on the Cup side where you have to develop your own engine. Like trucks, you kind of just design a body. I'm sure there's some technical stuff behind the scenes. I think it's a little easier for Ram to enter, obviously, through that series first with any team. But if they have aspirations of going Cup racing with one of their other, Stellantis brands, I don't know. Kaulig could be one of those teams, but if Kaulig's the only team to make the switch, that would be a little surprising. I look at all these other,
Yeah.
like Legacy Motor Club and Roush. I know Roush. I mean, Jack Roush is a Ford guy through and through, but I mean, Brad's kind of running that operation. He won a title with Dodge many years ago. Like some of these
Yeah.
three
It's a good
three
point.
car teams that maybe aren't like the top guys with their OEMs. Like I feel like that's where a new OEM would want to look, but maybe that's like you're saying too big of a risk for those teams to take because Dodge or whoever might struggle out the gates if they're a brand new Cup Series team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a tough decision, but also too, does how much money is Dodge willing to put in on their journey back to the Cup
Yeah,
Series? I don't know. I definitely think they need to be involved. I think it's crazy that they
yeah, yeah,
left in the first place. Like Dodge is like the American like
yeah. I agree.
it's crazy that
Yeah.
they left, but yeah, I think that they definitely need to be involved in the sport, and I'm just happy that they're back, even just to start with the trucks. I think it's good for the sport. I think it's great for them, and hopefully they continue to go down this road.
During the interview with Corey, we mentioned Caden Honeycutt joining the Toyota family. It appears for the end of this season and likely going into next season. Rumors suggest Heim will not be back in the Tricon 11 full time next year. Where do you think he could go? Like, because there's no way he leaves the Toyota system, right? Like the
Mm.
Toyota 2311, whoever's got to find a spot for him doing something next year, right?
I guess he jumps into the one Tricon truck for like half the year, and then he jumps in the 24 Xfinity car for like half the year, and then he drives the 67 for like half the year. Like I'm pretty sure
Maybe,
like
yeah,
that's probably what's gonna happen.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean the Caden Honeycutt thing I think is like really weird. Like that team was literally funding his career, and then you're gonna jump and leave. I mean, and then you tell them like in the middle of the year before the year's over when you're kind of like in the play, like,
Yeah, like it sounds like
what
I know I understand.
like you had to piss everybody off, and they're like, "You're out, get
Yeah,
out." Like,
yeah. So
so why would you do that? I don't. That just is not a smart play to
it
me. But
it definitely seemed from the outside looking in that Honeycutt maybe didn't handle the communication the best. Sounds like he like went to the
yeah,
team and said, "Hey, I signed with Toyota for next year, by the way," and then they were like, "Well, shoot, okay." Um, But from
Well,
the
we're not
team,
paying for you to race anymore. Then
yeah, from the team's
get out.
perspective, it's like I think it was Cody Efaw even kind of explained it. This is from Nice Motorsports perspective. It's like, the moment they found that out, not even Nice, Chevrolet is like, we don't really want to do business with you the rest of this year because you're not going to be our guy going forward. Like, you lose access to some of Chevy's resources. So
Yeah.
I do think the way Honeycutt maybe handled that, and I think you want to be upfront. You maybe want to be open about, hey, this is what I'm doing for next year, just FYI. Maybe that could have been communicated better, but I feel like Nice's hands were kind of tied at that point. Like, they want to keep getting that Chevy support. They gotta, put a Chevy backed guy in that truck. They can't keep a Toyota guy in there. Like, that's the lame duck
Yeah.
status could really impact their playoff hopes. But that, yeah, I don't know what Heim ends up doing. I think your perspective of maybe a lot of part time is fair. I know 2027, 2026 going into 2027. I think a lot of driver contracts, even some team deals, Truck, Xfinity, and Cup are going to be changing. Could be a lot more movement, many more opportunities opening up, which kind of leads me to one of our last topics here. Daniel Suarez, another friend of the show. I know one of your many amigos.
Yeah.
He's not returning to Trackhouse. He wants to stay in Cup, but there aren't a ton of Cup opportunities available that we can see, at least right now, unless things change. So do you think Suarez stays in Cup, or is he better suited maybe focusing on positioning himself for 2027? What do you think?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I feel like I just have a weird feeling, and I don't know any of this. This is just a thoughts because I also like Justin Haley, but I think Daniel Suarez could be going to Spire,
Hmm.
um, and I think he could be going to drive the seven car. And I don't know what that means for Justin Haley. I try to figure out, well, like where would he go or where is he going to end up? I don't really know, but I feel like Daniel seems pretty confident that he's going to be back in a cup car, maybe not a great cup car. So it's like, well, what does that mean? Um,
Yeah.
so I think
Do,
I
do you
really,
think like yeah, I understand, we talked about this before, the value of being a Cup Series driver, and if say Suarez does get that Spire seat, because I have heard that rumor, I think the Athletic
mhm,
even reported that Haley might be on the hot seat the rest of this summer.
yes,
Like, being in the Cup Series, Inspire's a solid enough team. That's great. That's awesome. But I don't know. I saw what Daniel did in Mexico City, winning for Junior Motorsports in his home country. Looked great. I'm like, man, selfishly as a fan, I'd like to see him run a full Xfinity year again. I know he's won a title. He says he has nothing more to prove, and he's probably right. But I'd love to see him win for a year, win a bunch of races potentially, and then position himself for 2027. Do you think that's? I mean, I don't know. I guess as a
no,
driver, you
I
probably
don't think
grapple
that.
with similar decisions every year. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
I don't think that he's looking to do something like that at all. I think he's going
Okay,
to stay in the Cup Series regardless, even if he does like what he did with the 96 car. I mean, I've
that's true.
tried, I kind of have tried to do that as well. I mean, yeah, I think you have to try to stay on Sundays. You never want to like go back down if you,
There's also the
if
risk
that's,
you go back down and you don't win right away. It's like, oh
yeah, and
shoot.
if you don't have the right team or the
Yeah,
right people
exactly.
around you, it's not going to happen. So
Uh huh.
like, what do you do? Well, you got to stay on Sundays. You got to stay. So I mean,
Yeah, good point.
the Sundays deal is just so much different than Saturdays. It's just such a bigger deal. Feel everything about it is totally
Sure.
different. I know that we talked a lot about how the cars are so challenging, and that is true. But it is if you can do it, that's where you want to be.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting then. You know Daniel, I think, better than most, and so it'll be interesting to see if he ends up at Spire or if something else develops over the next few weeks and months. I guess we'll wrap up with this, Brennan. What about you? What are you? Are you working on your 2026 plans? I know you probably have nothing to announce today, but
Yeah.
how confident are you in what you're going to be driving next season?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be back in racing Xfinity full time in 2026, and I've been really happy working with Alpha Prime. We've had a lot of success together for our budget and our small team. It's been just a tremendous amount of fun, and yeah, I'd be very happy with continuing where I'm at. Of course, I am always trying to like get in a situation to fight for wins every single week and race for a championship. So if an opportunity like that is before me, I'm gonna have to take that opportunity. And I know my team and all my guys and everybody would understand. But for right now, yeah, it looks like like I'll be continuing on. But I'm happy to do it. I love my crew chief Frank. I love all my crew guys. Clay, Ty, shout out to all you guys, Alex, Victor. I love working with Brandon Lyons, who's my spotter. He's William Byard's spotter on Sundays, and we've had a tremendous amount of fun working together this year. And Tommy Joe, as a leader and leading this team with the little budget that we have. I mean, we literally have like probably the 34th largest budget, and we're 18th in points. We've had two top fives and a top 10 this year. We just finished 12th at Watkins Glen. Like we're doing so much with
Yeah.
very little. And it's just a special thing to be a part of.
Yeah, and the prolonged consistency is what's insane too. Because I mean, last year y'all were 16th, 17th in points, backing that up this year. I saw you was looking at your numbers earlier. This is the most top fives, top tens you've had in a season since Chip Ganassi. And like you're saying, with
Yeah.
the budget, the group you guys have, like that is very impressive, very great accomplishment. Well, that's exciting, man. Excited to see you
Yeah.
back running Xfinity next year, and who knows what the future holds. Again, 2027, going into 2027, I should specify, could be crazy. A lot of driver
Yeah.
contracts up, a lot of teams going to be looking and I think really reviewing their situations. So I mean, it's all about jockeying for position both on the track and off the track around this time of year. But this has been fun. Want to give another quick shout out to Toxic Waste. Love the bumper, not the bump. Yeah, I guess the bumper, not the bumper cover. What is that? The deck lid that's
Deck
behind
lid.
you. The Toxic Waste deck lid looks great. Toxic Waste, hazardously sour candy. Really appreciate their support, both of your racing career, Brennan, also their support of this show. But that is going to do it. Fans watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a question, a comment down below, because our next episode, which we won't take as long to get out, I promise, we will answer some of your fan questions. Anything you want to know about me, probably more likely about Brennan. He has the more interesting day job. Leave a comment, leave a question, and we'll try to answer as many of those as we can on our next show. But until next time, Brennan, appreciate you being on, and we'll talk again soon, man.
Yeah. Can't wait for the next show.